Okay, just for fun, this is the first face that I ever made on a class called Art, Heart, and Healing with Tam over at Willowing. And this is the face that I'll be making today on the video. She's just a culmination of a year of practice. And here they are side by side. So patience, ladies. This is a year's worth of work for me to get from the face on the right to the face on the left. Lots of practice, lots of fun. I love them both, but you can see they've changed a bit. So here we go. Okay, I'm just going to give you a quick tutorial of faces. You'll see me a lot of times in my collage art use faces, and they're ones that I just draw up whenever I feel like it. So we're starting with a basic oval or circle. Oval. Once I get the basic shape that I want, I erase and then just trace it. Halfway down are your eyes. Halfway between your eyes and your chin is going to be the bottom of your nose. Again, this is just very, very basic tutorial. There's lots of girls that do faces. I'll put some down below the video if you're interested. I just wanted to do enough to give you something to play with. Most artists seem to want to do faces. Faces are fun to do, especially if you're art journaling. You can start trying different expressions and things. Here I'm just doing a hairline slightly below your original line, and as you can see, I don't get it right the first time. I just erase it and try it again. You just whatever. And this isn't, Sally Sue sitting in my living room and I'm trying to draw her. This is just me drawing a face. So we're not really going for perfect portraiture if you would like to try this. This is more just, the semblance of a face to give you something to use in your art journal. So, basic features. And then this is just basic watercolors. They're not expensive. Just basic watercolors, spread a little bit in there. You can use any plate, tray, pan that you have available. These are Neocolor. Unfortunately, the Neocolors are more expensive, but they're wonderful. You'll see a lot of the girls use them. They're water-soluble crayons, so you can color wherever and then make it into paint, which you'll see me do here in a few. Also, you can just wet them, same as you would regular watercolors, and use them. When I do my girls here lately, I've noticed I tend to start with the eyes. For some reason, I just look at the color palette and a color comes to me, and that's the color I start with for the eyes. And then the girl just kind of forms around that. Between the shape of the face and the color of the eyes, she just comes out. So here you can see you can just wet the crayon, just like watercolor paint, and right on goes the color. Very, very wonderful to use. I usually keep a paper to the side too. The little swirlies there you see are just me getting the last color out of my brush so that it's just wet. Sometimes you'll see me kind of shake my brush downward like that. I'm squeezing a little bit too. It's just to get a little more water. This is when I want not so solid color. This is when I want lots of paint on the brush and spread it around real easy. So keep it good and wet and fluid. Again, just basic face shading. Even though we're doing a face here that's not realistic looking, I'd still encourage you to look at real faces. Look at where the sunlight hits them, look at where the shadows are. Just very basic shading here. Also, I want to say, while I'm just shading here and you can just watch, the prompts for the Adventures in Collage are just very basic, open, just things that come to me, things that I start to see people are interested in. But by no means do you have to sit there and do exactly what I'm doing. If you want to, do. I don't feel copied or anything like that. You know, this is for practice. We're sharing it with our group. I have no problem with that. If you want to sit down and try line by line to do what I'm doing for practice, that's good practice. If you want to draw a face that looks nothing like mine, if you want to draw not a face, you want to draw a tree, that's wonderful too. The art prompts are really just meant to be somebody sharing their creative energy to help give you ideas, maybe spark some creativity that you didn't have going on before. Um, Also, I'm going to try to share some techniques. You know, like I would consider this a technique, something you can try that maybe you haven't tried or seen somebody do before. So my first layer I did just a very basic skin tone. Now I'm doing a slightly darker skin tone, adding a little shading. I'm not particular. If you want to know the exact colors, I can read down through the colors. I'm not particular about just saying it's this color, that color. I use them all. You know, it just depends on what you want it to look like. This particular set that I bought came with two colors that kind of look like a light orangey skin tone. I also use my browns, my orange, brown, oranges, blue. A lot of times I use blue for the shadow. I've done green faces. I mean, it really just depends on what kind of mood you're in, you know, what kind of art you're trying to express. If you're trying to paint a lady that you want to match a background, use colors on her face. Use pink on her face. Use purple on her face. You know, be creative. Here I kind of went with just a more regular, we'll just paint a sort of person-y looking face, just to give you a basic idea. So just shading in, blending as I go. I love this brush. This is a, I'll have to look up the name and I'll put it in the comments as well. Aqua something, I believe. There are lots of different kinds I'm sure you can get. The basis of it is that it's a hollow stem brush, so you can actually put the water right in the brush. It's wonderful. I feel like I have good control over the water flow. I was kind of worried about that because when you dip your brush, you know, you can make it really wet or really dry. This brush works well for that as well. You know, you can dry it off on a paper towel and the tip stays dry for a few seconds, or you can squeeze it if you want a puddle of water. I'm able to use it pretty much as the same as I could a watercolor brush, and it's great for traveling. You have your water right with you. My daughter and I took our kayaks out and decided to paint in our kayaks, and I actually dipped the basin of it into the pond and used pond water for our watercolor painting out there in the pond. So it's just a fun little thing we got to do. Now here I've dipped into the blue. I'm actually adding blue just to add to that shading. Up close, it's so hard to put art in photos and videos, but up close you can see it too. Sometimes I use colors for the shading that match their eyes. It just kind of draws the face together. Some very basic shading. There we go. And lips, as a general rule, top lip is slightly darker than the bottom lip. I would just encourage you to look at art that you like. If you're doing faces that you like, and then just try to maybe imitate the ones that you like. I kind of like the full lips with the top one darker and the bottom one lighter in the highlight. We had some patched together there because we had some battery die problems and things. So you didn't miss anything. All I'm doing here is just some hair shading. I went through with just a good solid brown, and I've actually gone back in with red and orange. Wanted to give her some fun little highlights. Here I'm working the red in as I go. I'm not particular about hair. I just kind of whatever comes to me. You can make it, you know, very real. Brown, blonde, red, whatever. I tend to go with a little bit more fun. If you could see her up close, she has kind of a fall yellow and red streaks through her hair. The beautiful thing about watercolor too is you can just keep adding color and it just blends together like it belongs there. So darken the pupils. You could do that with a Sharpie marker or paint, acrylic, you know. I'm tending to just use watercolors right here, but you can mix media. That works too. Some color and some shading on the neck. And there she is. Basic face. Cut her out, use her for whatever you want.